I would love this to be my studio. I wish I could afford to build it. Hello out there, I'm the oldest nerd, and this is our review of Strange New Worlds episode 4 in season 3 called A Space Adventure Hour. And it all goes upon a show within the show. And this is actually a show within a holodeck within a show. Now, we have an opportunity for our characters to, the actors actually, to inhabit different characters, of playing in a science fiction television show as people somewhat different from themselves. They are kind of amalgams of other characters. You see the mix between Christine Chapel and Number One and Spock in one character. You see the carefully written characters as opposed to kind of the background characters, and how they would react to it as actors. It's kind of interesting in that point. And also they had someone that was made up to look, actually Anson Mount, to look like Gene Roddenberry, kind of, but looked almost as much like Isaac Asimov, and kind of had the characterization of D.C. Fontana. So it's an interesting little mix-up that they had in that character, but Anson Mount absolutely occupied it, and you believed every word of it. There's a twist, of course, at the end, and of course we have an opportunity to see Scotty all busy in engineering, trying to kind of ride herd on this energy-draining program that they're running. And they keep it in canon, or try to keep it in canon, by saying this is experimental, and after the end of the show they say, well, this is kind of dangerous. It may be another 100 years before we get it refined enough for anybody to pick it up. And that gives enough time for TNG to take that on. Now, that said, as a kid, had the Star Trek Enterprise blueprints, the official blueprints, and have lost them. They'd be worth a fortune today. But in those blueprints, they had what they called three-dimensional communication rooms. They were small, but they could have been very much the idea for a holodeck. Somebody had that idea back in the 60s. Whether they were able to do it on film and special effects, of course, being as expensive then as they are now, relatively, they just couldn't do that. And in fact, one of the first things they did in the cartoon series was show their recreation room could be a day at the beach or things such as that. And so the canon of this is kind of wishy-washy. You don't know if you want to say that the Enterprise blueprints were canon. You don't want to say if the cartoon series was canon. And so they were careful and just said, well, this is just a test, and we probably won't talk about it for the next 100 years. Nevertheless, it gives an opportunity for our characters to assume other characters. And in this case, it's only La'an and Spock who maintain their characterizations, play acting as someone else, while the other characters are people who just look like other members of the crew. And I thought that's kind of an interesting little thing, and they justified that by saying, well, we have their transporter patterns so we can have the detail necessary. It's a little conceit in order for them to be able to use the regular cast in this show. So I thought it was well done. I mean, the murder mystery part of it really was nothing. It was just something to create this story within a story, in which the television film that was part of the clues gets to be played as well. And I rather enjoyed it. I thought that they made good-natured fun of Shatner and of Gene Roddenberry and of others. And they didn't really go just completely off the rails with it, I don't think. But they did have an opportunity to give the whole reason behind Star Trek to begin with. It was well stated near the end of the episode. And of course, with Jonathan Frakes directing this, you knew it was going to be done well and it was going to be funny. And he even gets a word in the outtake segment near the end. So I rather like this. I hope that they have some use for those retro futuristic sets that they built for this. I think it would be fun to use in something else. And I'm not so sure what I want to say about the romance between Lon and Spock, but I think that, once again, Spock is in kind of a proto-Spock era in which he's trying to understand the reasons that he needs to pick being half human or half Vulcan in his presentation to everyone else. And it reads a lot into the character that really wasn't developed until much later, where Spock by Star Trek VI says, logic is not the end of knowledge, it's the beginning. So it's an interesting idea where you would take Spock if you knew his entire rest of his life. And the only thing that, I've seen some complaints about the idea that you can't have a romance among any of these people because we know how it all turns out. Well, okay. But I mean, if you watch television, if you see a romance, it never works out because they get bored writing that kind of stuff. You don't have stable couples. Even if they start out married, they divorce, or one of them dies or something like that. So, I mean, I'm not worried about that as far as this whole idea of non-permanence goes. I'm kind of enjoying the ride, and I think that's one of the things that's always drew me to Star Trek was you feel like that you're riding along with them, and there's something to be said for that. So please tell me what you think about this. Did you like it? Did you not like it? Did you think that it was taking itself a little too flippantly or not? I believe that the show is supposed to be entertaining, and it was. So on my point on that, I think that it was a success. So thank you for joining us. Don't forget to subscribe, and we will be back with another Babylon 5 on Monday. We'll have another movie talking with Professor O later in that week, so do stay with us, and until then, don't go far.